Hey, welcome to another edition of the J&J Sports Express. I'm your co-host, Jeff Cadillac, and along with my usual co-host, JB Ellis. Hey, JB, how you doing?
Good. What's going on tonight?
Well, we're looking at 5 exciting games for Week 4 of the 2022 NFL season. It's really going forward nicely. I have to say there are some surprises, but all in all, it's exciting football every week. Some of these games are going down to the wire more than usual, 3 points or less. So last week I went 3-2, and you went 2-3. Hey, it happens, but
Had a great week, but what are you going to do? Some days are better than others.
yeah, it's sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes, one of the games I had with New England, they drive and they throw that interception. It's a big change. Turnovers will always kill you.
Yes,
So,
and I mean, backup quarterbacks that play better than what they should. Cooper Rush had a great game.
well, Cooper Rush, he's been with the Cowboys a while, so it's not, backup or whatever you want to call it. He knows the system. So he's not,
Exactly.
yeah, he's not somebody that just came off the taxi squad,
No, but he did a great job managing the game. He didn't force anything.
And
That was the difference between him and Daniel Jones. You
and
watch
the defense for Dallas just played well when they needed to.
the
But
Dallas defense was all over the whole game. It was disgusting. But the difference again, forcing throws as opposed to not forcing throws. But that we'll talk about that another time.
okay, so we're going to start right now with the first game that we're picked for this week. This is the Minnesota at New Orleans game. This game is being played in London. New Orleans is considered the home team. How do you like this game, JB?
So the first thing is with both teams having to travel all the way across to England, to me, there's no home team. It's not an advantage to either squad with that. Looking at it, Minnesota, Dalvin Cook is banged up. He's got a bad shoulder. It's a recurring injury that he's had multiple times. New Orleans defense, is a really good defense. I like what they do defensively. They have a good squad where they put it together. Offense is coming together. Michael Thomas is coming off playing better than he has. He's healthy. The rookie Olive is playing really well. So they're doing some things offensively as well. If Winston can control the ball and not do anything crazy, I like New Orleans here on the road.
Oh, well, I'll tell you something. I like Minnesota in this game, and I'll tell you why. Kirk Cousins is not forcing the ball. I do like that. And the backup for Dalvin Cook, I just can't think of his name right now. I think it's Madison. Right. He's just as capable as Dalvin Cook, but he also catches balls out of the backfield. Last week, Minnesota, they had to do a little comeback against Detroit. That happens. Always people don't realize Detroit isn't that good. They may be good. They're up on the rise. When it's a division rivalry, it's a whole different ball game. You got to look at division rivalry games a lot differently than you do regular other games. Minnesota, they came back. They needed to come back with a touchdown. They were down 24-14 in this game. They came back nicely. New Orleans is a mess. If they didn't come back against Atlanta in week 1 of the season, they're looking at 0-3, and basically you can consider the season done for them. Jameis Winston he's going back to his days in Tampa Bay. He's already got 5 interceptions in 3 games. He's got bad game management. He really looks lost out there now that he's the starting quarterback, totally in New Orleans. He's been sacked 11 times already in 3 games, and that was his total that he was sacked for 7 games last year when he played before he got injured. I'm not liking Jameis Winston. He's the kind of guy that if you put a little bit of pressure on, he folds up like a house of cards. He makes a lot of bad decisions. He's not a very good quarterback per se. And the loss they had against Carolina, I mean, that they shouldn't have lost that game. On a bounce back loss the week before to Tampa Bay, they should have came out storming. Instead, they came out flat. Carolina was up big in that game, and Jameis Winston got 2 dummy touchdowns at the end. It wasn't even close. I mean, New Orleans so far is all they're doing is playing catch-up ball this season. The first game against Atlanta, they were lucky to come away with the win, but they're playing garbage time. That's why their stats all look so good. 300 yards passing. If you don't win, who cares?
Yeah, but
So,
I mean, the same thing you're saying about the game with um, Minnesota last week with Detroit. You know, they're in the same division as Carolina. It's a division game. They know
what,
each
New
other.
Orleans?
Yeah, New Orleans and Carolina are in the same division.
Yeah, but Minnesota's not making. Kirk Cousins is not making the same mistakes that Jameis Winston is making.
Oh, I agree with you on that.
Okay,
Kirk
and
Cousins is better, but this is again being the only game of the time. It's a showcase game. Cousins does not play well when there's showcase games.
prime time. This is different. Sunday morning, he'll
This is
get
a
used to it.
showcase game, and
Okay,
he lost one of his premier backs. His a big part of the offense. Even though Madison is great, Dalvin, it's 1A and 1B. You don't want to lose 1A, and he's got to find a way to get Thielen in the offense. I mean, Justin Jefferson is a beast, but you have him and Thielen. If you throw the ball to Thielen a little bit more, imagine what Jefferson could do.
they will. Remember, they got a brand new head coach. He's learning the ropes the first time around. They'll be fine. I like Minnesota. You like New Orleans. Going to the second game, you got Washington at Dallas. Dallas -3. Who do you like in this game, JB?
Dallas all the way. Washington last week. How many times was Wentz sacked in the first half?
9 times he was sacked by Philly.
I think 6 times in the first half.
That game, let me tell you something. That game was over. Philly could have scored 50 if they wanted to. They played. They did what they had to do. They controlled the game on both sides of the ball. Washington is just a mess, okay? They're not going to beat too many teams this season. First game of the season, they were down 22-14 versus Jacksonville, and Jacksonville was coming on strong. We'll talk about them later. And they had to score 2 touchdowns late in the fourth quarter. I never liked Carson Wentz as a quarterback. I think Dallas defense is going to be all over him like a bad suit. And I agree with you on this. Last week, they did what they had to do against the Giants. I like Dallas. You like the Giants. Cooper Rush is showing that he may have a job in the NFL after this is all over because he's doing the job that needs to be done. And maybe he can compete with some other team for a possible starting quarterback job. You never know. But right now, he's looking good. I like the way he's managing. Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard last week against the Giants, they ran nicely. The defense for Dallas, they sacked Jones 5 times. So I'll tell you something. I got to agree with you. Dallas, Washington, these are 2 teams that are basically going in different directions. I mean, a lot of times I would say, Washington on the road against Dallas, you'd be surprised how many times Washington has won at Dallas, even though it's a division rivalry. But Dallas is looking to take care of business.
It's a division game, so that's the only reason why, in my head, I can see Washington doing something and playing well. But at the same time, that Dallas defense is so dominant. And then you have an offense that you could throw because you have, CD out there who's got, he made that bad drop with that wide open pass. Yes,
but he made up for it. He made up for it.
And then he made that beautiful one-handed catch. So feast or famine with that. And then you got Pollard and Zeke running the ball. Rush does what he did against the Giants. This game shouldn't even be close.
Listen, I tell you, if a team has a good running game, a sustainable running game, the quarterback can just relax, and the pressure is taken off of him. There are quarterbacks in this league, they can't carry the team. They need a competent running game behind them so that they can pick and choose their passes, and they still need to spread out the offense. Kirk Cousins is one of those quarterbacks. And there's other quarterbacks we could go down the list. But if they don't have a good running game, forget it if it's on their shoulders, because they will just make, it's just a matter of time before they make some serious mistakes. But, Dallas, I like Dallas in this game, and you like Dallas as well. So,
yeah. I mean, I can't see it really being close. I don't think Wentz is the guy. I didn't like him in Philly. I didn't like him in Indianapolis, and I don't like him in Washington. So
no, he's just a stopgap. And let me tell you something. Ron Rivera is one of the worst coaches in the NFL. He was very lucky with Carolina, but a lot of times they would always look to him the camera I see would always look after some crazy play where Carolina was caught with their pants down, and he looked as befuddled as the players did. He had like no answers. He's not that good of a coach. I don't know why Washington brought him in. We'll see what happens on Sunday, but I think Dallas might blow them out. This has the makings of a blowout.
I could see Dallas winning by a touchdown easily.
Touchdown, 3 touchdowns. It could be one of those 40-20 games.
Well, you only got to give up 3 to take Dallas, so I think that's a pretty easy one.
Well, I still think it has the makings of a blowout. But all right, so let's go to the next game. You got Buffalo at Baltimore. Buffalo is on the road as a road favorite, laying 3 at Baltimore. Tell me what you like, JB.
This is a tough game. Both teams, Buffalo coming off a loss where, Josh Allen threw the ball into the ground. They played a tough Miami team who's surprisingly 3-0. Baltimore's having a little bit of trouble here and there. They're not doing what I thought they would do, coming out undefeated through 3 games. But I think I got to go with Buffalo. I think they're going to bounce back. If everything I say about them is, going to be factual and how I feel, like I said with the Miami game, Miami had to come out strong against them and show that they were serious. They did, and then they went out and beat Buffalo. So I'm going to say, if I think Buffalo thinks they're the team that's going to go to the Super Bowl, they got to come out and win this game. This is a must win for them.
I like Buffalo in this game. You mentioned a couple of things that I definitely agree with, and I'll tell you, a bounce back win is what I see for Buffalo. Buffalo against Miami. I liked Miami last week. You like Buffalo. I like Miami because their defense. Plus, nobody's stopping Jalen Waddle. Even though Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill weren't as effective as they were, say, the 2 previous weeks, the Buffalo defense, now they lost Micah Hyde for the rest of the season. They still have a very good secondary. And the secondary is very important in Buffalo. Sean McDermott is a great coach because he's also very defensive-minded. He builds the team. And Stephon Diggs, right, the wide receiver, he is like a godsend for Josh Allen. And they're going to learn from the mistakes they made this past week. Not everybody is going to throw a pass that's going to be right on the money. That 4th down and 2 pass that he threw into the dirt, it happens to the best of them. It's not going to happen all the time. And I think they're going to learn from some of the mistakes they made this past week. Buffalo, they're quick learners. Baltimore was the recipient of 3 Mac Jones turnovers. New England was driving late in that game, and Mac Jones threw an ill-advised pass into the end zone, had no chance of being caught, and he turned the ball over. And that was when the score was 31-26. They score a touchdown there. They take the lead. They put the pressure on Baltimore. But that interception, it's no good. Mac Jones threw 3 interceptions and basically took New England out of the game. Plus, he suffered a high ankle sprain, so he might be out for a few weeks. But Baltimore, yeah, they need, Buffalo can stop Baltimore's run game. You put a spotter on Lamar Jackson, make him stay in the pocket, and let the secondary do their job. That's the key to this game for Buffalo.
What I love so far, though, is we've seen Baltimore having to play a tough schedule. We've seen Buffalo having to play a tough schedule. And we've seen Miami having to play a tough schedule. So, we're seeing what these teams are made of early. Miami has stepped up and done amazing. Buffalo has played really well, and they lost a really close game to Miami. And Baltimore collapsed against Miami a couple of weeks ago and got lucky against New England with these turnovers. And now, we got Buffalo, Baltimore. I think Buffalo is going to bounce back and take care of business. But I love the fact that, these 3 teams have had really tough schedules, and they're 3 of the best teams in the AFC.
Well, Baltimore, I don't think has had a really tough schedule. Week 1, they played the Jets. That was a gimme win. That game was over basically at halftime because Lamar Jackson and company were just playing with them. Then you go week 2, they did lose against Miami. That was their own fault. They were up 35-14. In the 4th quarter, mind you, you don't lose a game like that. That's ridiculous. Then this past week, they were the recipient, like I said, of 3 Mac Jones interceptions. So, they've been lucky. They've been very lucky.
But I like the fact that we're seeing what they can do early on, because this is going to pay dividends for these teams later on when you get towards playoff time. If you could stand up to the challenges and build throughout the season, this is what's going to make a team go further than what a team that's going to collapse.
Well,
So Baltimore
I
has
don't
a
know.
chance to learn.
Last year you had Tennessee, who's the number 1 seed. They lost in the first game. So, you know what? It's a crapshoot once you even get to the playoffs sometimes. It's the better coached teams that usually do the job. Or, Tannehill, that first game, he got into interception trouble. He basically gave the game away. We'll see what happens this year. It's a long season. Before we start talking playoffs, they got to, win a lot of games. But we'll see what happens. We both agree in Buffalo this game. I think Buffalo's going to take care of business. Going to our 4th game, which is Sunday night at 8 p.m. It is Kansas City at Tampa Bay. Kansas City's on the road, laying 2. How you like this, JB?
It's a tough game. I mean, you have Kansas City, who I got to think that they were just thinking past Indianapolis, because I don't think Indianapolis is that good. And they went there and they lost, to Matt Ryan and the rest of the Colts. And you got Tampa Bay, who's had a pretty tough go of it. Tough schedule so far. A lot of dog fights. They had to play Green Bay last week, which was a tough game. I think I like Kansas City. I just think that they're a better team. I think Mahomes right now is just in a better headspace than Brady is. They have more weapons. And, their defense is getting better week after week.
Well, I have to disagree with you here. I like Tampa Bay getting the 2 points at home because Brady's fantastic on the bounce back. Last week, the Green Bay game at Tampa Bay, you like Tampa Bay, I like Green Bay. This week, I like Tampa Bay and you like Kansas City. Tampa Bay is also getting Mike Evans back, and Julio Jones might also be available. So Brady's getting a couple of his weapons back. Kansas City, listen, I said last week, if you read my analysis on my website, jeffcadillac.com, you will see that I picked Indianapolis against Kansas City. That was a must-win game for Indianapolis. They could not go down. They basically tied the first game, lost the next game. They would have gone down 0-2-1 in the AFC South. That was a must-win game. They played their hearts out in the Colts, and they surprised Kansas City. And Mahomes threw an interception towards the end, which sealed it for. I mean, they could have won that game, and they were looking for a last-second kick, but they didn't get it, and they threw the interception. Mahomes, yeah, he's great, no doubt about it. But Brady off the loss, and considering that he hates being a dog, and the fact that he's getting Mike Evans back, possibly Julio Jones, this weighs very heavy in this game. And also the 5 games between Brady and Mahomes. Brady is 3-2 straight up and 3-1-1 against the spread. So he owns Mahomes right now, and that's including the playoff games.
But Brady has never had to play with things off the field over his head in his personal life. He's had to play with cheating scandals. He's had to play, with the Deflategate, with the Spygate. Is Belichick the reason he's so good? Which obviously it's not. We saw when he went to Tampa. But now everything coming out with his marriage, they're, separated, they're not separated. He's a good father. He's not there for the kids. I think it's starting to take a toll on him.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't look. Everybody has stuff going on in their personal life. He compartmentalizes. We're talking about a seasoned professional, one of the greatest to ever play the game at the position. I would even think he could have played back in the era where you could take the quarterback's head off. That's how competitive he was. He is. I don't see it a problem for him. I think once he's on the field and once he's game ready, he can't let the rest of the team down and tell people, "Well, I got things on my mind." That's not
he admit it, but
that's not what a professional does. And I don't think that affects him one bit. I just think that the offense for Tampa Bay was stopped last week because Green Bay's defense happens to be very good, and they stopped them when they needed to stop them. Obviously, Tampa Bay got that touchdown at the end, and they couldn't get the 2-point conversion. It happens. It's not always a gimme, even when Brady is the quarterback. I've seen games where they said, okay, the announcers already said, okay, here comes the comeback. They're going to win the game, and Brady, it didn't happen. So it's not just automatic with Brady, but off a loss, you can look it up. He's fantastic in the bounce back.
He's phenomenal after a loss. There's not many
That's right.
times now Brady loses 2 in a row.
That's right. That's why I'm liking Tampa Bay here, and especially at home. He doesn't have to go on the road. He doesn't have to do anything.
So,
he just get out of his bed.
If this game gets moved to Minnesota from Tampa, does that change anything with what you're saying?
I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
Well, we're not going to be back on the air before then. So say, the hurricane right now is whipping through Florida. The commissioner says we're moving the game right now. Does that change how you think?
I like Tampa. I still like Tampa Bay. This guy could do it in a tunnel. And, to me, he's a consummate professional, and I think he will get it done. So
you like Brady north or south? You're happy?
North or south, east or west.
I love it. Let's go to the last game of the week, and I'm going to let you go first because I'm confused as to how the team is favored in this game. So I'm going to let you, as the expert, explain it to me.
Okay. The 5th game that we're looking at this week is the Monday night matchup of the Los Angeles Rams at the San Francisco 49ers. I know San Francisco is favored by 2.5. I think San Francisco's favored because they beat the Rams a lot in San Francisco. A lot of times the Rams come in, they don't do it. The Rams, look, this year, I'll be the first to admit, I like San Francisco in this game. Rams have not impressed me one bit this year, okay? First week, they got blown out by Buffalo. Second week, they barely beat Atlanta. And then they also barely beat Arizona, okay? They beat them by 8 points at Arizona. They stopped Arizona to 4 field goals. I mean, Kyler Murray, without DeAndre Hopkins, it's a different story. If they got the touchdown at the end, the spread was 4. I like that. I liked Arizona +4. They just couldn't get in the end zone. That, to me, was a problem because Kyler Murray thinks he could do it all his own. They need to get that running game going. If you look at teams that don't get their running game going, at least sustain some kind of running game so that it fools the defense, they lose. You cannot win a game just on the arm of a quarterback. It doesn't happen in the NFL. You have to have some sort of balance. If you look at people got to look at these stats from the week before, and if you see, a balanced attack, you don't even have to look at the score. They won. But I like San Francisco in this game, and we'll talk about it a little more. Who do you like, JB?
So, San Francisco just had a horrible loss to Denver. Jimmy G stepped out of bounds. It happens. I mean, it didn't look like he realized where the back line was. It was a horrible mistake. The offense looked bad. I think the Rams' defense is better than Denver's defense. They couldn't move the ball at all. So I don't see how they're going to move the ball against the Rams. I just don't get it.
After, good teams, after bad games and mistakes, they sort of correct themselves. And Jimmy G also knows he didn't do a whole training camp with the 49ers. They had him out, on trade rumors, and he wasn't in training camp. They basically said, don't come. So he didn't get to practice with the team. A couple of weeks with practice and everything. Last week was very rusty. This week he's going to be on fire. And he's going to be hitting the guys. And he's going to turn it around. That's what I feel on Monday night what's going to happen. And the team is going to get pumped because they know that with Jimmy G, they went to the NFC Championship last year. It wasn't.
I think he can manage the game well, and they know the Rams. I don't question that. I just think when you put the two teams on paper, the Rams are a better team. I think that the Rams have a better passing game, a better running game, and a better defense. So I'm not sure where San Francisco pulls out a win. It is a division game. The Rams have trouble going up to San Francisco, but I can't consciously say how after last week's performance how I can say that San Francisco is going to win. And, you know, I can't consciously say it and feel good about it.
Well, that's why they play the game. So we'll see what happens. But I obviously you like the Rams and I like San Francisco. These teams, Jimmy G, he lights it up against the Rams. And like I said, I'm not really that impressed by the Rams so far. They haven't really shown me anything that says, these guys are going to be going gangbusters. I just kind of feel that they've taken a step down from where they were last year. When the Rams came into town or wherever they played, teams were like, oh, okay. They knew what they were up against and everything. I mean, if Aaron Donald doesn't get through the line, Jimmy G will have plenty of time to throw that ball.
I get what you're saying, but my answer to that would be there's no points in the win column for style points.
That's true.
A win's a win. They're 2-1. The only loss right now is to Buffalo, who looks really good as another 2-1 team. So on paper, their 2-1 is just as good as Buffalo's 2-1 right now.
Well, one of the teams that I definitely wanted to speak about that looks like they may have made a turnaround is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
They looked phenomenal.
Let me tell you something. This week's game, we're not doing this game, but Jacksonville at Philly, that's going to be some game because guess who's coming back to Philly? Doug Peterson, coach of the Jaguars. He probably circled this game on his calendar the minute the schedule came out. That's right.
It came out last May. I'm sure it was circled.
Yeah, he circled it in a big way. He says, guess what? I won you a Super Bowl and you fired me. So I'm not gonna. If the folks watching want to see my analysis on this game, check out my website, jeffcadillac.com tomorrow, Thursday, and you'll see the whole analysis on that game. Plus, my best bet of the week is 2-1 on Twitter on Friday.
Before the season, you did an article which I read on Jacksonville. You had them on under. Right now, after the first 3 weeks, do you change your mind on that, or are you still with that?
On what?
Jacksonville.
At first, I mean, it's a long season. We'll see what happens. Right now they look like they could win 10 games, maybe. I mean, that's if the whole team plays well, but you never know.
I'm going to ask you again in a couple of weeks. I just wanted to see because they were dominant last week. And they've been playing really decent football.
Let me tell you something. That game was over at halftime,
they beat nothing out of them.
And Justin Aber and the Chargers, they've suffered some serious injuries already.
Yes.
And going forward, who knows what's going to happen with that team? And I think it was a mistake even playing Herbert last week after the injury he sustained versus Kansas City on Thursday night. I think that was a big mistake.
They thought it was Jacksonville. They were going to walk all over them, but guess what?
This is the NFL, and you can't think that you're going to walk all over anybody. You have to take every game seriously.
No gimmies.
This is not college where you get those money games. You pay some Division 1A team to come in, and homecoming or whatever. You pay them a certain amount of money. You beat them up like 63-0, and you go home.
No games in the NFL.
You got your third team in there, but at halftime doesn't work like that. This is the NFL. It doesn't work like that. So
where can people find you, Jeff?
You can find me at jeffcadillac.com for a full analysis of all the games every week for free. You can follow me on Twitter at jeffcadillac1. You could also follow me. I've been doing a guest spot on Better Sports Network. That's a Better Sports Network app. I was there on Friday night with Rich Camilla on Better Sports Network doing some NFL games, a guest spot. And sportskita.com, you can find me. I'm writing an article every week. Plus, I'm doing some games for them as well. So catch me wherever you can.
All right. So JB_ the program on Twitter, Sideline Sports Tuesday night, Confidential Tuesdays 11. Here every Wednesday at 7, the South Florida Tribune, Sports Exchange at 9, and both sides of the coin tonight at 11. Guys, it was fun. We'll see you next week. Let's see if I get my revenge on Jeff after last week's 3-2. We're out of here. Have a good one.